Hi everyone, welcome to my channel, uh, my low carb lifestyle channel. This is where I'm going to talk about my recipes, my low carb lifestyle, food that I eat, and just the mood for some keema, masala minced meat. What is masala minced meat? That's spicy minced meat. So here I am in the kitchen, and the star of today's minced meat is obviously this here. I've got some minced mutton. I think it's about 1 kilo of minced mutton. The best part about the keto diet, is that I can cook in yummy butter. So that's a lump of butter. I won't be using all of it. I'm just showing you the butter. And also ghee. This is homemade ghee. And I have some chopped up onions. I've taken about 3 of this size onions. And I have garlic paste. I've taken about 2 garlics of this size, and I have chopped up ginger. I like the taste of little bits of ginger that comes when I'm eating my mince, but you can make a paste out of it, obviously. The ginger that I've taken is about this much. I washed it, peeled it, and chopped it up. And the spices I'll be using, these are the dry spices. This is cinnamon, which I've broken up into small pieces. This is big cardamom, which I've taken off the cover that it has, and I've taken out the seeds. Then the small cardamom, which again I've done the same thing. I've taken off the cover and I've removed the seeds. I have cloves, whole peppercorns, and I've taken the same spices and I've ground them up in my little masala grinder, and I've made a powder out of it, which I'll be using. And I also have black pepper powder. Apart from that, I'll be using chopped up cheese. I've taken 3 cubes of this size. It's Amul cheese, which we get here in India. I've chopped them up. I also will be using cream, which I haven't put here. So I'll be bringing that. So first of all, I'm going to start frying the onions. Oh, but before that, I also have 3 medium-sized tomatoes and 2 or 3 green chilies, all chopped up. So my pan is heating, and I'm going to put some butter in this. This is about how much I'm going to put in. Say 2 tablespoons, 2 or 3 tablespoons, and I'm going to let the butter melt. And into the butter, I'm going to put the dry whole spices. So first, the cinnamon, whole peppercorns, whole cloves, the small cardamom, and the big cardamom. And I'm going to let it fry a little bit so that the aroma of the spices get into the butter. The beautiful smell of the spices frying. But we don't want to burn them. So about 1 or 2 minutes, and then we put in the onions. I'm using a lot of onions because I want to reserve some as garnish, the fried onions. And I'm going to fry the onions until they are brown, red brown. So the onions have become nicely brown. It takes about 10 minutes for the onions to brown. You stir it about, you have to babysit it a little because you don't want the onions to stick to the bottom of the pan. So next, I'm going to remove part of these onions and put them aside because I'm going to use it as garnish at the end. So there's the garlic paste and chopped ginger, and now also I'm going to put a tablespoon of homemade ghee. Yum! So I collect cream. I get full cream milk, and I collect cream like this in my refrigerator. and I make homemade ghee out of it. So 2 tablespoons of ghee, and I'm going to stir it about and let everything cook. The garlic, the ginger pieces. Oh, lovely, lovely. Smell it, beautiful smell of ginger, garlic, onions. Yum. Nothing like it. So I let that cook. I'll increase the heat and let it cook for maybe 2 or 3 minutes until it gets nicely fried. The smell of the raw spices should go. The smell of raw garlic and raw ginger. So that takes about 2 or 3 minutes. So once that is done, I'll be putting in the tomatoes. So everything is cooking nicely, the spices are cooking nicely. The best way to test whether the spices are well done is to lift this, put it to your nose, give it a long sniff, the sniff test I call it, and I smell that it's cooked. You can smell whether the spices are raw or cooked. So once that is done, let me put the spatula aside and put my tomatoes and green chilies in, and I'm going to stir it about, stir it about, stir it about. And let that cook for a while. Mix it up well. And now you want to cover it and let it cook until the tomatoes become soft and pulpy. Basically making a tomato sauce. So I reduce the heat and I let it cook. It will take about 10 or 15 minutes. So the tomatoes are cooking nicely. I can smell the spices cooking. The green chilies, I get the green chilies hit into my nose, so I'm coughing. Here I remove the lid. You can see it's cooking nicely, it's become nice and pulpy. You have to babysit it a little because you don't want it to stick at the bottom. So every now and then you have to come and stir it about so that it doesn't stick at the bottom. At this point, I'm going to put the 3 masalas that I have salt here, turmeric and red chili powder. So first, salt has to be to taste because I've used salted butter, so I'm circumspect. I use very little salt in the beginning. I can always temper it later if I want to. The salt has gone in and the turmeric goes in and the red chili powder goes in. Use red chili powder according to your levels of heat. And then I'm going to put some of the ground spices that I spoke about. So maybe a tablespoon. Don't overdo the ground spices because you don't want to overwhelm the meat with the ground spices. And after the ground spices, I'm going to put some pepper. So now I'm going to stir it about again. A nice old stir. Cook it a little so that the raw smell of the spice again disappears. Stir it about. You have to babysit it. At this point, you really have to babysit it. If you need to, if you feel you need to, you can add some more fat. Fat, ghee, yum. Yes. And let it cook. Stir it, stir it. Ideally, the fat has to come up. It has to float up from the frying masalas, the tomatoes, the onions, ginger, garlic, everything is being cooked. I think it's done now. So now I'm going to put in the star of the show, which is the minced meat. So here goes. Here's the minced meat. I'm putting it all in and mix it about. mix it nicely, press it down so that you can get all the lumps out. You want the lumps out, and keep mixing it until all the spices, the tomatoes, everything that has been frying all this time mixes well with the meat. And after that, oh yes, increase the heat. But keep mixing it about. Incorporate all the spices and all the masalas, the tomatoes, the pulp, everything inside. Oh, it smells divine. I'm going to cover it and let it cook. It's nicely covered. It's going to be cooking, and once it comes to a boil, and once it starts bubbling about inside, I'm going to reduce the heat and let it cook for about 15 to 20 minutes. So it's beginning to bubble nicely inside. You can see the steam coming out. And I'm going to remove the cover. Now what has to be done at this point? You see the bubbling and the steam. At this point, when it begins bubbling and steaming like this, you have to be careful that it doesn't stick at the bottom. So every once in a while you have to come and babysit it, stir it about. Be careful that it doesn't stick, because you don't want it burnt. This is minced mutton, but you can use anything, minced beef or minced turkey or chicken. Chicken comes out very well because chicken meat is so soft and it cooks so fast. It really turns out yummy. So anyway, so it's going to keep cooking like this, and I'll cover it up again. So I've increased the heat so that it bubbles up. When I open the lid, I always increase the heat and stir it about. I cover the lid and then reduce the heat and let it cook for another 15 to 20 minutes. So it's been cooking now for 20 minutes. I've been coming often and stirring it about so that it doesn't stick. If you want, you can add some water into it if you want more liquid, but I like it dry. So I'm going to let it be as it is. Stir it a little more, 20 minutes. I think the meat is done. And now I'm going to add the cream. Actually first, the cheese. Mix it so that the cheese melts. Keep stirring it and mixing it. If you want, you can add more cheese. You can add your choice of cheese. I had Amul cheese at home, so I'm using that. But you can add, I don't know, whatever cheese you have. Right, maybe cheddar. I'm not an expert in cheeses really. I'm not an expert in cooking either. I cook because I want to eat the kind of healthy food that I feel I need for my health. So that's why I make it a point to cook all my meals. I hardly ever eat out. Ever since I've been on this ketogenic diet where it's affecting my health so beautifully, I have stopped eating out, more or less. We go out very, very rarely. And usually when I do go out and eat, I usually feel sick. The oils they use, I use pure butter, pure ghee to cook my food. Outside, wherever you go, it's cooked in oils. And those are unhealthy. And now that my system is used to eating pure stuff like homemade ghee, butter, it just doesn't tolerate the kind of food you get outside, the cooking methods they use. So I think the cheese is melted. Now I'm going to put in the cream. This is, I get full cream milk and I boil it and I refrigerate it. I cool it outside and then I refrigerate it overnight, and the next morning I get beautiful cream. And this is the cream I use to make my homemade ghee. So I'm going to mix it about. Get the cream mixed with it. I mean, just look at the stuff I'm making. I'm making my food with homemade cream, homemade ghee, homemade butter. Butter is bought, but the butter I get is excellent. Amul butter is excellent. So the best way to check butter, the purity of butter, is to melt a little bit in heat, and the smell that it gives off, it will give off the smell of ghee. If it gives off the smell of ghee, it's pure butter. If it's something else, it will give off some other weird smells. Okay, my cream is nicely incorporated. Now I'm going to put it in a dish and I'm going to serve it, and then I'm going to taste it. So here I am. My food is done. My minced meat is done. And now is the crucial time. I'm going to do the taste test. Here is I plated it out. And I'm going to get my spoon. It smells good. It smells awesome. The spices, the meat, the onion, the fried onions, because I've garnished it with fried onions, and that slightly chili taste, the smell of chili, really. I wish you could smell it. Anyway, so here goes my first bite, my first mouthful, spoonful. This is my first video, my first cooking video. I don't know what I'm going to do with the editing part of it. I have no clue what I'm doing. But anyway, let me see. Bon appetit. The salt is perfect. For once I judged it right. I can get the buttery ghee, the spices, and the meat is cooked to perfection. Awesome. You can eat this all by itself, or team it up with rice or rotis, the flat bread that Indians eat, or bread. But since bread and rotis are not allowed, they're made with wheat, and rice is not allowed because it's a grain. I don't eat grains in my diet. So what I'm experimenting with is a keto roti and the cauliflower rice. I don't know whether cauliflower rice will go well with this, but the keto roti certainly will. They'll be using either coconut flour or almond flour to make the rotis and have it with this. I'm sure that will be tasty. So maybe that will be my next recipe video. One more bite. My low carb lifestyle. What is it? Okay, my low carb lifestyle bite. Mince meat bite. Awesome. I just love it. I think I'll put a few more drops of ghee on top of it. Perfect. Perfectly cooked. So, I hope you like this video. This is my first cooking video. And please punch the like button if you like it. Leave some comments down there so that I'm not a cooking expert. I experiment, I do stuff. I read up recipes obviously, and I watch other people cooking. I'm a great avid fan of cooking videos. So I learn a lot from everybody and I incorporate it into my own cooking style. It's basically Indian based, but I like Western food too. So this could be compared with the Western minced beef, the beef chili. I think they use tomato paste, whereas I've just chopped up my tomatoes and used them. I prefer fresh instead of canned stuff. I prefer getting fresh produce and using fresh produce. I think that adds to the flavor. Anyway, press the like button. Please subscribe. I'm going to be talking about my lifestyle, the foods I eat, how I cook them, why I follow a low carb diet. It's basically a ketogenic and low carb diet. Why I do it, when did I get into it. So I'll be making videos about things like that, talking videos and also cooking videos to show how I do my cooking and what I eat in a day, how I maintain my weight and my health using the ketogenic or low carb diet. So please subscribe if you feel that you will benefit from it or learn something from what I do in my life. I'm not saying everybody is the same. I'm not saying that I'm not saying that I'm an expert. I do know that I have been experimenting on it on myself, and I know the benefits of it. I have experienced the benefits of it, and I feel whoever watches it will benefit from it. I hope so anyway. So do subscribe and share it. Share my videos with all your friends and family, and hit the notification button so that when I come out with the next video, you get notified. So there we are. Bye.